I've never believed in ghosts, demons, or any kind of supernatural nonsense. Life is already terrifying enough with real dangers, robbers, accidents, diseases. But the night of October 12th, inside a small rented house I had been living in for only a week, something happened that still haunts me. When I tell people about it, their first reaction is to laugh, but when they see my face, their smiles fade. Because what happened to me wasn't a hallucination, and it wasn't a dream. It was real, too real. 1. The rented house. I had moved to the city for a job and was desperately searching for a cheap place to stay. The house I finally found was unusually affordable, almost suspiciously cheap. A 2-room set, ground floor, with a small kitchen and a narrow corridor leading to the bedroom. The landlord was an elderly man with shaky hands and dull eyes. When I asked him why the rent was so low, he simply said, "People don't prefer this house, it stays too quiet." That should have been my first warning. But I ignored it. After all, quiet sounded perfect. The first few nights were normal. I cooked, watched horror videos on YouTube, scrolled through social apps, and slept peacefully. But everything changed the night I noticed something strange in the corridor. A shadow, not mine, and not belonging to anything in the house. 2. The breathing shadow. It started around 11:30 p.m. I had switched off the lights and was about to sleep when I heard a soft sound. A slow, heavy, rhythmic breathing. Not like someone standing outside the house, but like someone standing inside the corridor. At first, I thought it was coming from the window. Maybe wind, maybe the neighbor's TV, something logical. So I ignored it and closed my eyes. But after a few seconds, I heard it again. Ha, ha, ha. Slow, deep, deliberate. I sat up and looked toward the corridor. The light from the street faintly entered through the window bars, making the corridor just visible enough to see outlines. That's when I noticed it. A dark shape, long, thin, and still, standing near the wall. I blinked hard. I squinted. I rubbed my eyes. But the shape didn't go away. It wasn't a coat hanger. It wasn't a chair. It wasn't a shadow cast by anything inside the house. And that breathing, ha, 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 continued as if it was coming directly from the dark shape. I froze. My throat dried. My heart started beating painfully hard. Even though the entire room was cold, I felt sweat on my back. I wanted to scream, but the sound didn't come out. Instead, I whispered, "Hello, who's there?" The shadow moved. Not fast, not suddenly, just a slight shift, like someone turning their head toward me. That was all it took for my body to shut down. I jumped up, switched on the room light, and rushed into the corridor. Empty. Nothing. No one. The corridor was completely clear. But the breathing had stopped. 3. The landlord's warning. The next morning, I went straight to the landlord's house. He opened the door with the same dull, empty expression. "Did something happen?" he asked, as if he already knew. "I heard something," I said. "A shadow." Breathing. His eyebrows twitched, the first expression I saw on his face. "The breathing doesn't harm," he said quietly. "Just don't respond to it. Don't speak to it. Don't acknowledge it." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. He simply shut the door slowly. That was the moment I realized something had happened in that house long before I moved in. And something was still there. 4. The night it got worse. I decided I would not let paranoia get to me. I convinced myself it was stress, imagination, exhaustion from work. But the shadow didn't stop. Every night after 11 p.m., I heard the same breathing in the corridor. And every night, the shadow appeared, sometimes tall, sometimes shorter, like it changed shape. I stopped switching off the lights at night, but the shadow appeared even when lights were on, darker than darkness itself. One night, it crawled on the floor. Not walking, crawling. its long fingers scraping the tiles, its head tilted unnaturally to one side. And the breathing, God, the breathing, became louder, more desperate, as if it struggled to drag itself toward my room. That night, I locked the door and stayed awake till sunrise. 5. The voice behind the door. 3 days later, things escalated. Around midnight, I heard a knock on my bedroom door. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. But then I heard it open the door. The voice was cold, raspy, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. I shook my head violently even though no one could see me. My entire body trembled. The voice came again. Open the door. I covered my ears with my hands, squeezing my eyes shut. The knocking grew louder, faster. Tap 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 tap. And then, silence. I stayed completely still for several minutes before gathering the courage to whisper, "Go away," and that was a mistake. Because the moment I spoke, the thing on the other side whispered back, "I knew you could hear me." 6. The night of the breathing room. I had reached my limit. I decided to leave early morning. I packed my bag quietly around 4 a.m. But as I was about to unzip my suitcase, I heard the breathing again. Not from the corridor. From behind me. Slow, deep, painful. Ha, ha, ha. I turned around slowly, my blood turning cold. The corner of the room, just behind my bed, was darker than the rest of the room. A shadow stood there, taller than the ceiling could allow. Its shape rippled like smoke trapped inside a human form. And then, it exhaled. A freezing gust of air hit my face. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't scream. The shadow stretched its long arm toward me, fingers trembling like broken branches. And then it spoke in that same voice. "You talked to me, now I am inside." The lights flickered. The walls vibrated. The breathing turned into faint whispers, hundreds of them overlapping, echoing around the room. I grabbed my bag and ran. I didn't even look behind. I sprinted out of the house, out of the gate, and down the street until my legs couldn't carry me anymore. 7. Aftermath. I changed my number. I moved to a different neighborhood. I never returned to collect the remaining things I had left in that house. But the landlord found me. Not directly. He called me from an unknown number. "There was something in that house before you came," he said. "A tenant died there. No body was ever found. Only a shadow remained." I cut the call, blocked the number. But that wasn't the end. Because sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet and still, I hear a faint sound behind me. A slow, familiar breathing. Ha, ha, ha. And a cold whisper. "You opened the door." If this story stayed in your mind longer than it should, leave a like, subscribe to Grim Wave, and tell me in the comments what part disturbed you the most.